All right. Wednesday, National Conference on Wednesday. Uh, coming. All right. Good evening. Good evening. Very impromptu. Uh, thought I've not done one of these for a while, so maybe spend a little bit of time doing a Q&A with anyone who pops on. Really, it is a bank holiday weekend, obviously, so I know people may be out trying to take advantage of the downtime, and it's great that we've got three of them in May this year. So let's have a look and see if people join. Pop questions in the chat, and I'll happily cover or answer those questions as and when they arrive. Um, but yeah, I'm just going to wait because, like I said, this is very, very impromptu, and I'm doing some bits and pieces in the background as well. Um, yes, we'll see what happens. I got all my three gears and knees. So with this stage of life. Okay. Makes no sense. All right, welcome, 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 welcome. This is a Q&A. So if you do have questions, pop them in the chat. This is very impromptu. I'm going to be very, very reactive with this, if I'm completely honest. A bit of a busy week, really. So this is really just to kind of get any additional kind of engagement with you guys, answer any questions that you might have. Interest rates, inflation, I don't know, the markets. Um, the Chinese markets seem to have gone nuts on Friday. One of the stocks was up significantly. And I've been tracking that a little bit, but not something that I would necessarily speak about because obviously with these kind of things, there's always a lot of risk involved with it. You feel as though you might be able to get in with an opportunity to get some gains, but the tide could always go against you very, very quickly. So not something I'm going to touch on specifically on the channel next week, but I will continue to monitor that situation. I do just want to say, I don't know if have I done a live since then. I need to go and have a look at this. Bear me 1 second. Let me just go and have a look at this. I know that I did a live with Sam. We were talking a little bit about interest rates, mortgages, what is likely to happen. And the verdict out of that was the fact that we think that interest rates are probably going to level out about where they are right now at that 4 or 5% interest rate. But I'm trying to see when my last live prior to that was. I did one about deposit boost. Then I had the one with Sam. Then when was this one? Because we had one about ISAs where we just had to clear up some of the questions. That was, yeah, April 6th. So I've done a few since then. Um, the reason why I'm thinking of that is because I just had back the video for the book launch, and I posted it a little bit earlier today, but I don't know that I've actually said thank you to people who actually attended and people for supporting the book. I don't know if I've said that out loud or have I? I think I might have. I'm be surprised if I haven't. But yeah, I just want to say thank you because I look back at the video. It was such a fun day. It was really, 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 really fun day, and I've been doing a lot of talks this past week, and the book has kind of been at the center of it all, and the feedback that keeps coming around the book has been really, really positive, and the fact that it started trending as a bestseller that first week, well, for the first 2 weeks of release, 2.5 weeks of release, is really down to you guys. And I don't know if I've actually said thank you out loud, but if I haven't, you're hearing it from me now. Thank you so much. I mean, it's been crazy. First part of the year has been nuts. It's been a bit quiet over the past couple of weeks, and I've had time to kind of just chill, reflect, and kind of, I guess, get my wits about me again. But it's been very, very exciting. And I don't know what the rest of the year is going to be like, but hopefully not as busy or stressful. No, hopefully it will be as busy, but not as stressful as it has been over the past 4 months, because it's been extremely, extremely stressful. Dean, Dean's just saying here. Let's just pop this up here. Because great so far, mate. Been really busy. It's not finished yet, but great so far. And we'll watch the new video soon. Cheers, mate. Thank you. But like I said, I don't know if I can say this. I couldn't say this because I got contacted on LinkedIn, and I was a space was volunteered in London for the book launch, and going through researching venues. So spaces in London are so expensive, and I got given this space for free. They didn't want anything in return. They were just great because they were like, we've been following you. We like what you do. So if you do want to have a book launch, you can come and have it in our branch. You can come and have it in our venue. And it was amazing. And to I think we had in the room during the day probably about 50 people or so. It was supposed to be small, but 50 was plenty for the space that we had. You're always fearful that, if you have too many people, you can't necessarily interact as much. But yeah, it's been amazing. It's been a really, really amazing ride. And just interacting with people who have, picked up the book has been amazing too. I have made a lot of content recently about, because I'm just looking at my video list right here, a lot about ISAs, a lot about interest rates, because I think that's quite topical right now. People are a little still a little bit confused, maybe a little bit concerned about what's going to happen. I'd like to think that we're kind of at this point where things will start to calm down a little bit, but the honest truth is, we just don't know. You just don't know what's going to happen. The inflation numbers that will come out will dictate whether we'll see further interest rate rises. And if we do, then obviously that's going to have an impact on mortgages. But I do think that actually it's probably worthwhile just noting that if you are in a mortgage, you can start shopping around for a new rate 6 months prior. So where are we right now? We are entering into May. So if your mortgage is going to come out of its fixed rate, say in October or November, this is probably the right time to start looking around, shopping around for a specific deal. And you should, if you lock in your rate right now, number one, keep that rate, but also, more importantly, avoid any early repayment charge that may be associated with your mortgage. And that's always going to be important because it's going to be more money in your pocket. And you can go and take that money to essentially overpay your mortgage if you wanted to. That's a really, really important point to make sure that you're looking at that as an option. I do have a video or a conversation on a podcast in the morning about interest only mortgages. I had a great call with someone earlier this week. And the topic of conversation was interest only mortgages. It's not something that I necessarily encourage people to go into, because you need to have a plan with an interest only mortgage. But that's the conversation on the podcast tomorrow, and that will be available on the channel from 12 tomorrow afternoon. And I obviously, when I put out content, I'm trying to be as useful and helpful as possible. So there are some action points and things to think about when it comes to interest only. So by all means, make sure that you go and check that out. And if you do know anyone who is an interest only mortgage, because what happens is people tend to forget that they're in one and just renew the product because it's easier, particularly if they're staying with the same provider. And it's something you really need to pay attention to, because yeah, if you get it wrong, it's not great. It really isn't great. And I'll share a bit of a story of the conversation in the pod tomorrow. Let's have a look at this one. Hey Pete, I just purchased your book. Thank you very much, from Amazon, and also just opened up a Vanguard account. A prompt came up about my index funds giving me a zero growth rate. Will I have to increase deposits? A prompt came up about index funds giving me a zero growth rate. A zero growth rate. I'm trying to figure out what screen you would have been on to have that. I mean, you would have a zero growth rate because if you've only just deposited money in, it hasn't been invested, so you wouldn't have had any return. So that's probably what it's saying. You don't have to increase your deposit. It just means that your money hasn't been in long enough to for it to be invested to actually have a return. If you'd had it invested for maybe a week, then you would have a growth rate, be that positive or negative, show up in Vanguard. But if you just open the account and deposited the money, the immediate number that you'll see will be zero on the growth rate because you've not had any time in the market. Um, but if it's been in there for a week and it's still showing zero, the markets haven't been flat. The markets have been a little bit volatile. You should see a number, but if not, I think it's probably just worthwhile making sure that you speak to Vanguard. Maybe just pick up the phone to them. They're quite receptive and very very helpful. So pick up the phone to Vanguard. But I don't think you need to increase the your deposits. It's probably just because your money hasn't been invested yet for a period of time to show any growth. All right, guys. If you have questions, pop them in here. Dean's just got a question. We currently own our home, wanting to move to a larger, nicer home. So I've taken my savings out of my stocks and shares ISA, placed it in cash, but not sure uh, whether better to use savings. Um, what? Okay, savings towards a new home. So we need a small or no mortgage, but that would mean no savings. You think keeping savings and getting a mortgage or used towards home? I do love being mortgage free. It's all going to be about priorities, mate. Having savings is nice, but if you don't have a mortgage or you have a small mortgage, you're going to be able to free up your cash flow. So your disposable income should be a little bit better because you don't have huge expenses on the mortgage, right? So what you then free up, you can use to recoup your savings. But for some people, they would rather have a savings and they don't mind paying a small mortgage if it's at a decent rate. So it's all swings and roundabouts. I think the question that you need to answer is what's the priority? Would you rather, and what does it actually look like on paper? Would you rather have no or little or just a small mortgage or no mortgage? Then you work out what the finances look like from that point of view. Or would you rather have, if you had a small mortgage, what do the finances look like? Because on one side, you may have additional cash which will allow you to do different things, and you shouldn't underestimate how you'll feel being mortgage free as well. Your the weight off your shoulder, you can't buy that. That's priceless. So I think it's worthwhile just looking at the financials for the numbers, what it looks like, but ultimately, what will help you sleep best at night. That's really the key decider in the question. All right, all right. So get your questions in. If you have any questions, I'll tell you curiously. What I have noticed is, I, previously the channel would do a lot. I would do a lot of investment content, and that had great interest. And I think part of this is human psychology, right? So back in 2000, what 2021, 2020, investment content was pretty much all I produced on the channel, and yeah, the views were great. What I've noticed is because obviously the markets have trailed off a little bit, and there's recession fears, and interest rates are the main conversation piece. There's a lot more interest in that kind of content specifically. So I find myself pivoting slightly, and still want to talk about the investment, like the markets and investing and stuff. But I don't feel as though it's as much of an important topic as it used to be, certainly from a channel point of view, which is interesting because this, I guess, my mandate is I can talk about anything finance, investing, mortgages, interest rates, all that kind of stuff, because that's where my expertise lies. But it's really just interesting seeing how um, viewers' interest has changed over the course of probably about the last 14, 16 months. It's definitely moved away from investing because now I think the risks of investing have become a lot more apparent because of the fact that the markets have been very volatile and interest rates have gone up, so there are recessionary fears, so on and so forth. So it's been quite interesting to see, actually, very very interesting to see. Oh, hey dude, thank you very much. Hey bro, glad to see that you've seeing this much success. Keep up the great work. Mate, listen, thank you. I mean, I've got to be honest though. It doesn't always feel like it. Um, it's been very, very stressful, and I think that kind of takes the shine off it a little bit. I think sometimes when you picture, success, you think of it as being all smooth sailing, and it's been far from smooth sailing. It's been very, very stressful. Um, but I'm thankful for it though. I mean, look, I've always said that, good work, good work is what it's all about, right? You put good work out there, then hopefully it gets rewarded um with what you might perceive as success. I mean, the book has been amazing. It really, really has. Um, Definitely way ahead of track. I thought maybe the book would have happened, 2 years from now or so. So I'm eternally thankful. And I've been doing talks this past week. And people have been asking, how does it feel? And it's like the highlight for me, because someone asked me what the highlight was. The highlight for me was on the first day the book came out on March 16th. Um, there was actually a handful of highlights that day, actually. But being interviewed on Channel 4 on Pack Lunch, they didn't do my regular slot, but they allowed me to talk about the book. That was amazing. Steph was amazing, and the team were amazing there for doing that for me. Um, the second highlight was that day we were number 48 on Amazon for across all of the books being sold on Amazon, the top 50. It's pretty sick. That was mad. And then connected to that for like a day or so, or just under a day, just under 24 hours, my book was above Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. I mean, I will take that to my grave. Like that's something that I'm always going to be able to say, that even if it is for a very, very brief moment, my book was ranked higher than Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. I was in number one position. He was in number two. And like the book was number one in multiple categories on Amazon for like 2.5 weeks. It was pretty amazing. So it's been a really, really nice ride, and all of the imposter syndrome that I felt writing it, knowing that experts were going to read it and comment on it and review on it, and the fact that it got picked up by the Sun as a book to turn the page on your money woes, that was pretty cool. Yeah, it just validates that hard work pays off, mate. Really. So it's really been awesome. It's been great. And now I find myself in a situation or a place where I'm trying to reevaluate where I am. I'm trying to figure out what the next priority is, and I don't really have the answers just yet. For that, I definitely have. I wouldn't say neglected, but I've had to pivot. I've had to adapt my upload schedule because been busy with so many other things around the book and obviously doing the show on Channel 4. So I've not been able to pay as much attention in terms of like videos on Tuesday, videos on Friday. I mean, the videos take a lot of time. So I'm trying to figure out how I still continue to do all the things that I want to do and still keep the channel up and running. Um, we'll see how it goes, man. But yeah, thanks for that, dude. Really appreciate it. Nicholas, what's Nicholas saying? Good evening. Thank you for the Q&A. I just opened a stocks and shares ISA with Fidelity. Which platform would you recommend between Vanguard and Fidelity? They're both really good. I think Vanguard's probably a little bit cheaper than Fidelity, if I'm not mistaken. But I would be asking the question why you chose Fidelity in the first place. Do you have more choice in Fidelity? You may have slightly more choice in Fidelity, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're better. It depends on what your selection criteria was, mate. Whether you went for cost being one of them, whether you went for range of selection. How did you select it? But I think Vanguard is definitely will be cheaper than Fidelity, but you may not have as much choice in Fidelity, or maybe you might have more choice there. But don't just go chopping and changing, because the thing is, if you've already got the money invested in a stocks and shares ISA and you move it from Fidelity to Vanguard, they effectively have to sell down the investments and then transfer it over to Vanguard. And if your investments are down right now, that means you're cashing in a loss, and that's not really ideal to do. So you can do an ISA transfer, but the assets still need to be sold. So that's definitely a consideration. But if you did want to change, maybe have a look at um, what the charges are, how they compare, and whether or not you could find something similar or the same as the option you've chosen in Fidelity with Vanguard, because you may not be able to match it up perfectly, but you may be able to get like an approximation of um, of what you've got with Fidelity already. So maybe have a little think about those two things. But I think Vanguard would definitely be cheaper on the cost. Greg, our fixed rate mortgage ends November 23. Do you think the rate is going to drop between now and then, or should I consider locking in now? Love the channel. Mate, I don't know. Um, I don't necessarily think. I think we'll be hopeful that the rates will drop. If you had to put a bet on it, I think there's more chance of rates going up there are of rates going down, purely because of the language, the things that you're hearing in the media. People are reminding you that, even the rates right now, whilst they're higher than what they have been. So, I mean, my mortgage is something what locked in at, I think it was 2.4, something like that, 2.39, right? Um, and now rates are what, 4.5%. Like it's almost double in some cases, right? But they're reminding you in the media that historically our interest rates are still very, very low. So that's signposting, framing the fact that this is the new norm for interest rates. So I doubt that mortgage rates will go down. I could be wrong. I think that there's a greater chance of mortgage rates going up than there are of mortgage rates going down. And so when you're trying to make this decision, you need to be looking at your finances, and you need to be looking at it from, right, okay, so what happens if interest rates still continue to go up? How much can you afford for it to go up by before it becomes a problem? And if you can't afford for it to go up, then you have the answer to your question. You should probably lock in now and try and reserve a rate that may not be necessarily palatable, but will secure a known amount for you moving forward. That's how I would approach it. But it's hard to say. If we had a crystal ball, mate, I'd be able to tell you exactly. But unfortunately, none of us do. Congratulations on the launch of the new book, Pete. Wish you all the best with it. Thank you very much, Ezekiel. Really, thank you, mate. Really, really do appreciate it. And sometimes to say any correct, I finally finished it. It's been super useful. Thank you, mate. Really, really good. Thank you. I mean, I haven't checked the. Let me just have a look at this actually, because I was thinking about this the other day, and I've not really tracked over the past month or so. But I just want to see. I'm curious. I am curious. Hmm. Okay. Let's take a minute of that. Let's go to. Let's go here. All right. Where are we at the moment? Where are we? 27 reviews. Fantastic. Cool. Yeah, because I don't know. I was looking at. I do read the reviews to see what people kind of thought of it overall. And yeah, I think the last time I checked, it was something like 10. So it's nice to see that there are more up there. If you have read the book or you've picked up the audio book, please do put a review on Amazon if you can. That would just be really, really helpful. It really, really would. So thank you, mate. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, guys, if you do have questions, pop them in the chat, and I will be sure to give it a go, answering and trying to give you some perspective, some of my expertise in that regard. So please pop them in the chat. Just looking at something else right here. Hmm. Interesting. Okay. Cool. Right. Okay. Let's go back over here. Michael's just saying. I think I've already answered his question. Good. 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 All right. I'm probably going to give this another. Where are we right now? How many minutes? We're 25 minutes. I'm going to give this another 5 minutes. Is Citadel out? I rarely watch TV, right? And because it's obviously bank holiday weekend, got no plans this evening. But Citadel is it on? I think it's on Amazon Prime. Looks amazing, and I've read so many good reviews, like pre-reviews to this thing, and I think it's available right now. So I might sink my teeth into a series this evening. It's very, very rare that I kind of take the time off on a Sunday to do nothing. The pod is all done. Next week is a little busy. It's a little crazy, to be fair, but this is a little bit of downtime. Sorry, missed my question. What was your question, Michael? Let me just scroll back up 1 second. Oh, here we go. Sorry, mate. Like, let me get to this now. Uh, really is a gift. Thank you very much. Question for you: does the new stocks and shares ISA limit take into consideration your previous investment? Can I still? Your ISA limit resets every year. It resets on April the 6th each year. So you get 20 grand every tax year, which is April 6th to April 5th. So it doesn't matter what you put in the previous year. You just basically get a fresh 20k for this financial year from what 3 weeks ago. So you've got 20k, so you can put in 6k this financial year, no problem at all. But yeah, the limit you're going to have is 20k for this current financial year, which will end on April 5th, 24. Yeah, 24. Hopefully that helps, mate. Hopefully that answers the question. Let me know if it doesn't. But yeah, that's how they work. ISIS can be really confusing, like really, really confusing, especially when you get into the nitty gritty of the rules and stuff. It can be really, really confusing as well. But I've made a number of videos that should hopefully break it down, make it a little bit easier to kind of understand. I think I'm just looking back at my video log at this point in time, and I did a video on March 31st, and I talked about ISA do's and don'ts. So I explained the ISA rules there. So that might be worthwhile having a look at, Michael, just to give you kind of a better understanding. And also on April the 10th, so this is 4 days after the ISA season, the new ISA tax year started. I also did some mistakes to avoid, 3 mistakes to avoid as well. So maybe go have a look at those. If you go onto the channel, let me just see if I can just show you this very quickly. 1 second. If you go onto the channel, you're looking at, let me see if can I make this bigger, just so you get this full screen for you. There we go. So what you're looking for is you're looking for this video right here, which was on April 10th. And you're also looking for this video right here, which was on March 31st. So you want those 2 videos. That should give you a really good breakdown of how everything works. If you're still a little bit confused, you may not be, but there we go. All right. Any other questions? Any other questions, Pete? Sorry if this is a stupid question. There is no stupid question, but are you allowed to pay into more than one ISA as long as long as you still have an allowance? You can only pay into one ISA in a tax year. So you can't have a stocks and shares ISA with Vanguard, then go and pay money into a stocks and shares ISA with Fidelity. So you can only pay into one stocks and shares ISA, one kind of stocks and shares ISA every single tax year. So again, the ISA do's and don'ts, that video will explain it in more detail. So definitely go watch that video. But there, you got to understand there are 5 types of ISAs. You've got cash ISAs, stocks and shares ISAs. You've got a lifetime ISA. You've got a junior ISA. You've got an innovative finance ISA. You can only pay into one of each of those kinds during the tax year. So you can't have, like I've already said, a stocks and shares ISA with Fidelity and Vanguard. No, you need to choose one. Same thing as if you open a cash ISA. You can't have a cash ISA with Barclays and NatWest. No, you need to choose one provider. So you can't. Technically, you can't. Wesley, thinking about buying my first property. Is it better to get the first with a 15% deposit and then buy to let with a 25 deposit as an investment, or just put it all into one property? That really depends on your priorities, mate. If you go in for a 15% deposit, you're going to get what? That's going to give you an 85% loan to value. You'll get pretty good. You should get better rates because of that loan to values. But if you're thinking about an investment property, I think the key thing to weigh up there is, yes, you've got allocation of capital towards the investment property, but ultimately you're going to get an income stream from that property as well. So if you put the full 40% into a household, into a residential property that you're going to live in, is not necessarily going to be generating you income. Yes, it might free up some disposable income for you on a monthly basis, but it's not generating you an income, and you're not going to be in a position where you have two assets that will appreciate over time. So depending on your strategy, you may decide to do one, like i.e. put 40% into residential, but I think it's worthwhile considering the fact that you are going to be picking up two assets, one to live in, one is an investment, and that investment property, assuming you have tenants in there consistently, will generate an income for you as well as appreciating property. So get doing both makes sense if you sit down and look at the raw numbers, in my opinion. But that'll be down for you to decide what's going to be best for you, mate. Amanda, I want to open a junior ISA for my son. What platform would be ideal, i.e., cheapest to open, and interest rates? I can't give you a specific because um, I don't know what the rates are on junior ISAs right now. There are a number of providers that do it. I'm trying to think of the one that I've worked with last year. Uh, who was it? Um, Hang on a second. I'll be able to tell you. One sec. Hmm. Call this video. Uh, Here we go. Here it is. Why did I call it that? Uh, that's such a crap title. Oh, so who did we use? Who did we use? Who did we use? I need to have a look at this link. Let's see. Okay. I can't remember the name of the company now, but I can tell you which video it is. If you let me just share this again. Sorry, one second. Because they were really, really good, and I just can't remember what they're called, but they were very, 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 very good. Um, and I don't know if the offer that they had back then is still available, but it was called. I called it Investing for Children. Uh, this video right here. It's quite an old one. This is from, when was this? Let's go to the link here. Mm, This is a year ago. So it would have been around about this time last year. Yeah, it would have been this video right here. Maybe go watch that. I don't know what interest rates are on junior ISAs right now. That will be just be a case of just maybe just popping something into a search engine to see what the best rates are. But this will give you a provider. And it's bad that I can't even remember who they are now. But they were very, very, very good when speaking to them in preparing for this video. Um, but yeah, there aren't that many that operate in the junior ISA space. I can't even remember if Moneybox even have a junior ISA now. Um, let's have a look. Uh, I can't type junior ISA providers. There we go. It also depends whether you want to do a stocks and shares junior ISA. I'm assuming you want to do just a cash junior ISA, because you're talking about interest rates there and not returns. So how old is this one? I mean, Money Supermarket. What are they saying here? Let's look at this one. Okay, this is of April. This is the 18th. This is a couple of weeks old. Top junior ISAs. Let's see what they've got. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Okay, so according to Money Supermarket, Money Saving Expert, Coventry Building Society 4.15%. Got Skipton at 4. Stafford Railway Building Society at 3.75. You got Leek Building Society at 3.75. And these, so this one you can only open by post or phone. Actually, post, phone, and branch you can open by. You can transfer in as well. So this is the top one at the moment on the market. So maybe have a look at those guys for it. Hopefully that's helpful. Right, let me just stop sharing this and let me just see what else we have. I'm going to log off in a moment. Okay, let's have a look at this one. If I cancel my credit card, would this be would this be bad for your credit score? It depends on what circumstances you cancel your credit card. If you cancel your credit card and you still owe money, you've missed payments, then yes, it's going to be bad. If you're canceling your credit card because you've paid everything off, um, and you just don't want to fall into the trap of reusing the card again to get yourself back in debt, then no, it's not going to have a huge impact on your credit score at all, to be honest. And I do talk about this in my book because there's a section on credit score specifically in my book. Actually, the last part of my basic formula focuses purely on credit score and how you improve it, the key things that actually matter. Your credit card utilization does matter and the percentage of your utilization does matter, but I think there are bigger things that go into you improving your credit score and making sure that you have a healthy credit score. So I would definitely encourage you to maybe have a little read of that chapter in the book, because it goes into a lot of detail around who the credit reference agencies are, where they get all their data from, all that kind of good stuff. So you'll know how to improve it, because it's not going to have a huge impact as long as you haven't missed payments, you haven't had late payments, so on and so forth. Um, okay, cool. I've just answered that one. Yeah. So yeah, Michael, your limit resets every year on April the 6th. So you've got 20K to put in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, came across your channel yesterday. Glad to have found you. Thank you so much for being here. Really do appreciate it. I used to do these live Q&As a lot. I used to do them almost every Sunday. Um, it's just become a lot harder to do them because of the time allocation and the fact that now my Sundays are just so drastic. Normally, so busy trying to prep for the following week. So I try and do these as and when I can. This one is very kind of spontaneous. Um, but yeah, thanks for being here. And if you do have questions, obviously, if you find me on Instagram, you can message me there. I do respond to messages as much as I can, or just make sure that you stay tuned to any of the live Q and A's. We can come along and just ask a question, I should say. What index fund would I suggest for short-term purposes? I wouldn't suggest investing in index funds for short-term purposes. If you're not willing to invest for 5 years, you should not be investing at all. It doesn't matter whether that's in an index fund or whether that's in individual stocks. You need at least a 5-year minimum term to be investing, Sam. Food dweller. Yeah, what's going on, mate? And my question is, if I put £5,000 into my ISA and withdraw all the money and put in the same money back again, say a month time, does it make it £10,000 or still £5,000 contribution? It depends who you do it with. I can't remember the phrase now, but some providers will allow you to do exactly that, where you can pay in 5K, take it out, put in 5K, and it won't account as £10,000. There's a particular phrase for it, and I cannot remember it for the life of me. but you need to double check. So whoever you're going to be using, you need to ask them. If you're paying 5K, take it out and repay it back in. Is that going to mean that you've used half your allowance or just the original 5,000? They'll be able to tell you very, very clearly. But typically, the majority of providers will it will be the latter, where if you're paying 5K, you take it out and you pay 5K back in, you've used £10,000 of your allowance, which is why it's always worthwhile. You know, you are going to be putting money into exactly what you're doing, and you don't need the money because, yeah, if you take it out, replace it, you're using more of your allowance, and it feels like it's counterintuitive. Does the interest rate return for my cash and stock and shares ISA reduce my annual allowance? Your annual allowance. What do you mean? There are different annual allowances. So can you specify what annual allowance you mean? Do you mean your tax allowance of 12,570, or do you mean your pensions annual allowance or your ISA annual allowance? What do you mean exactly? Which annual allowance? Fatima saying, I'm looking to buy my first property. Are there any buying agents, i.e., agents who negotiate on behalf of customers? No. I mean, if you go with an estate agent, then they should. Well, do they negotiate for you? They probably don't. I mean, you can ask them to say, look, can you get a deal and stuff? So if you're using an estate agent to buy a property, then they should be looking to get the best price for you. But I wouldn't necessarily go and spend money on any agent who's offering to be able to negotiate those kind of things for you because yeah, if you're using an estate agent, it should be fine. If you're going directly with a developer, you may have a little bit of negotiation room, but you have to be brave enough to ask. And this is where your research comes into the equation. Like really research, like understand, if you're going to be buying in a certain area, is there a similar house on that same street that has gone for a certain amount? If the property you're looking to buy is going over that value, then you need to understand why it's going over that value. If you don't feel it's justified, then you may have a point of negotiation. Tell them, look, this property over here went at this price, and actually that property is bigger, this one's smaller, whatever. Right. So a little bit of research and knowing the area that you're buying and you're looking to buy in is really important. One of the things you can do with developers is, and I encourage people to do this all the time. If you're buying a new build, listen, you negotiate them, put it in your free dishwashers, press hard because don't forget these guys want to sell homes. They really, really do. And if you're not in a place like London where demand is super, super high, you probably have a little bit more leverage to be able to ask for just that little bit more. But you've got to try your luck. If you don't ask, you don't get a lot of the time, right? But if you're working with an estate agent, they should be negotiating really on your behalf. Okay, so 5 years max. So 5 years max, mate. You want to go low risk. I cannot tell you a specific one because that will be me directing you, giving you advice, of telling you to go pick a specific index fund. But the tip that I can tell you is if you're only looking at a 5 year term, you should be looking at a low risk index fund. So if you're going on Vanguard, for example, they score 1 out of 7 on their fact sheets. So you want to be looking at something way less than 7. You probably want to be looking at maybe something like a 3, if not lower. You need to go low risk at 5 years, mate, because 5 years, if the market still crashes, what the markets, they can take a while to come back. You just want to make sure that for whatever reason you need that money for, the market doesn't crash, and then you're stuck having to cash in at a loss because you're only investing for 5 years. Is there any government ISA rules about my question? There may be something. Well, you're talking about again, I can't remember the phrase. I can't remember the phrase. The government did dictate the changes, so it's down to the discretion of the providers, though, on which one they choose to use. So, as far as I'm aware, as far as I remember. Does HMRC automatically change your tax code if you earn over the personal savings allowance? What do you mean? PSA, you mean personal savings allowance, right? Your personal savings allowance is based on how much tax you pay. So if you're talking about the personal savings allowance specifically, if you're a basic rate taxpayer paying 20%, your personal savings allowance, so the amount that you can get interest you can earn on savings is £1,000. If you're a higher rate, it's 500 quid. If you're an additional rate paying 45p, well, 45 plus, you get zero. So it's not about your tax. Well, it is about your tax code, but it's all about how much tax you pay. So if you are in that bracket where you're paying 40% tax, your personal savings allowance is going to be half from 1,000 to 500 quid. HMRC will automatically do that because they know how much you're getting paid, and they're the ones who dictate how much tax you pay, right? So to a certain extent, yes, it's dictated by your tax code, but it really depends on where you are in that tax bracket or in that scale thresholds. Can I get a signed copy of the book? Yes, you can. Depends where you are, though. It depends where you are. Um, yeah, someone easily saying personal savings allowance there. Yeah, so that should have answered the question. Yes, you can. So at the moment, you can only buy on Amazon. Um, I need to figure out because people have been asking me, can I get a signed copy? And I could probably set something up on my website where you can get it from my website, and then I can obviously because I've got copies in the house here in the office here. Well, I actually dispatch you a signed copy, having paid for it. I'll tell you what, the formula. If you're on Instagram, message me on Instagram, and I'll figure out how we can do it so that I can send you a copy that's here and I'll sign it and send it to you. So yeah, just message me on Instagram. We try and figure that out. But I do need to figure this out on how I might do this for the website. I know you can't give a financial advice, but would like your view. I'm contributing 7.5% into my workplace pension via salary sacrifice. Work is matching that. That's really good, mate. And so you got 15% going into your pension. That's really, really good. You would save yourself a little bit of money on obviously your tax because via your workplace, your contributions go in before you start paying tax. Your employer's matching that. That's really, really good, mate. It's a good place to be. You've also got a follow up here. I also do 10% salary sacrifice from an employee stock purchase program and contribute £333 into a lifetime ISA. What else could I be doing for a house deposit? Okay, so I did a talk for Pension Bee this week, and this is one of the questions that someone asked. Um, Look, you should definitely max out the lifetime ISA, which you're going to do with the £333 a month that you're paying in, right? Um, any additional money that you can muster to go towards a deposit, maybe NS&I premium bonds, because at least it will be tax free. At least you will have the ability for you to access it as and when you need it, and you might win on their prize draw. So maybe something like that, or the highest rate interest account you could possibly find. I would say those will be your two best bets. It also depends on how far into the future this house purchase is. When are you going to need access to this deposit? Because again, you could invest it, but look, you don't want to risk your house deposit because of investment risk. So generally, I try and steer people away from that unless you're looking to purchase a house in 10, 12 years time. If it's anywhere within the next 10 years, I think investing in the stock market is a little too risky because you could find yourself in a position where you lose part of the deposit if markets crash or just the investments don't perform well. So highest rate interest account that you could possibly find after you've maxed out your lifetime ISA. Maybe look at NSI premium bonds for any additional amount that you can pay in, and just try and enjoy the journey, cultivate that habit, embed that habit. Really, uh, d- I, I'm not really up on the providers as much as I used to be doing reviews. So I haven't done a review. I haven't done like a proper review video for a long, long time, and people are still watching like the Money Box and the Nutmeg reviews, and people are asking, "Is this still valid for 2023?" And it's like I need to do an update. I do, but I just don't want to do review videos. So I'm saying that because I don't really know which ones are the best ones for lifetime ISAs right now. Um, and maybe I do need to get back to review so I'm more uh, on the pulse of what some of these providers are actually offering now. Um, I couldn't tell you, mate. I mean, I know that Moneybox has got one, um, but beyond that, I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure Moneybox has got a cash lifetime ISA. Beyond that, mate, I wouldn't be able to say. Oh my god, dude, this is amazing. 50% discount. It's already 50% interest. Oh my god, mate, that's who do you work for? That's amazing. That's really, really cool. So they're not only matching you on your contributions, but they're also giving you 15% discount as well. That's pretty amazing. Really, really amazing. All right, okay, cool. Guys, I appreciate you. Thanks so much for watching. Again, this has been very, very impromptu. So it was a last minute kind of thing that I thought I would do because I've not done one of these for a while. And again, thank you for all of the support. Really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Guys, enjoy your bank holiday Monday tomorrow. Hopefully, where I am is pissing it down. So hopefully, we actually get some good weather so that we can actually enjoy it. But who knows? Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Catch you soon.